Okay. Hi. Hello out there. Welcome to the Bubblegum Social Club Disney Channel original movie madness. And I'm here with Samantha. Hi, Samantha.
Hi.
This is me trying to remember the intros. We watched Brink, which is one of the more, I don't know, notorious, famous early Disney Channel movies that I apparently definitely watched before, but didn't remember as like one of my favorites, which I know like some people are like, what? Also, I want to shout out to Laura because she's probably going to watch this later because she loves this dude. And also, I had to double check that he is the same guy who's in Princess Diaries, who plays the jerk in the Princess Diaries, and I was just like, yeah, he's pretty great. So, anyway, so we watched Brink, the rollerblading movie that is like super 90s. And Samantha, I know that you were super excited about this one.
I was. This was one of my favorite DCOMs for sure, and it's definitely one of the earliest ones. We had to skip the second one, but this is the third DCOM. I think.
According to Wikipedia, I believe so. Yeah, it was either 88 or 98 or 99. Yeah, we had to skip You Lucky Dog because we couldn't find it. Like you'd have to buy an actual DVD. And
who does that anymore?
Well, also we planned this like last week, so that wasn't going to happen. I think what we're going to do is probably like after we get through all the ones that we have access to, we will probably try to get the other ones and see how that goes.
We're going to try and go in as chronological order as possible, but
yeah. So this one was available streaming on Amazon. You can rent it or you can buy it. It's also available on iTunes if you're looking for it, if you want to watch it. I will admit that at first I was sort of like, I don't really want to watch this. And then like I got to a certain part, and I'll bring it up when we get there. I got to a certain part of the movie and I was just like crazy invested. and then I paused the movie because I had to stop for a little bit to do something else. And I thought, oh my God, there's probably fan fiction for this. And I looked it up and then I became extra invested in the movie. So apparently that's the key.
I love that.
Yeah, when I have to update the Tumblr, the Bubblegum Social Club Tumblr, but when I do, I will in the show notes link to the two really cute like fan fiction that I found that were like nice. They were just so adorable. I was like, this is the cutest thing. Anyway.
Yeah, I didn't go to the fan fictions, but I imagine there's quite a few.
Actually, there was only two. I was so upset because I thought for sure it would be like the main guy and the bad guy because as I mentioned to you, they're just constantly very close physically to each other. Their faces are just right there. And I was but I just did like a search on Archive of Our Own of like Brink and like they have a tag for like the actual movie. Yeah, 1998. It was there in the tag. And then I just did like, you know, organized by Kudos as you should, and like Complete Works. Maybe if I don't do Complete Works, I'll find more stuff. But in terms of Complete Works in English, there were just two things, and it was like Brink and Peter as like the ship in that one, and it was super cute. But yeah, I was a little surprised that there wasn't more, just because when I mentioned this movie to people, they're like, oh, like people who are our age, they'll just kind of like freak out.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of those ones that's like probably in the top 10 of like the DCOMs, like you need to see and that everyone remembers. And I just know like this was this one meant so much to me versus like I was a rollerblader when I was like in middle school and high school, like that I did that, and it was cool to see that like represented.
Sorry. I tried rollerblading and I was like, nope, this is hard. I will fall.
I always did it. I never did like tricks and stuff, but it was like I was definitely a rollerblader. So it was fun. It was fun that this movie was like it came out around the time when I was like really getting into it. So
because it was like a whole thing. Like I went to a roller rink for a friend's birthday, and there was this woman who was rollerblading, and she like looked like an angel, which I know sounds weird, but she just like kind of like a ballerina, like the way she was able to like spin and stuff. And I was just like, what? Yeah. And it's interesting how the movement is different from roller skaters, but now that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it's got all the hallmarks with the characters that were like first a 90s thing, I feel like, and then became kind of like late 80s, early 90s characters that slowly became like the DCOM like characters. And then like the 90s like pop punk kind of music that I'm not even entirely sure those were real songs. I should look it up. But
like that?
no, because I was trying to listen to the lyrics of the songs when they were playing them, because it was usually like a montage. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I like what song this is. And I was listening to it. I'm like, are there lyrics? Are they just sort of making noises? I can't tell. So, but yeah, it was very like, it had the like, you know, because I remember playing the, oh my God, what is his name? The super famous skateboarder. I forgot his name. Yes, Tony Hawk. I was just like, what is this? All I could think was Tom Hanks, and I was like, that's not right. I'm bad with names. I'm just so incredibly bad with names. I remember playing or seeing my cousin playing that video game and trying to play it and just like loving all the music on that game. That's like basically why I wanted to play it. Yeah, so anyway, let's go through the journey of Brink. And this is your movie, Samantha, so go for it.
Well, Brink, it's a pretty simple storyline, as, you know, a majority of DCOMs are, but we are introduced first to Andy Brinker, who is the main character.
Yeah.
And
it took me so long to realize that was his name. At first I was like, oh, is he just calling himself Brink? That's a little weird. And then I realized it was like his last name. I was like, oh, okay. That's a lucky coincidence.
So yeah, we're introduced to him as he meets his friends at a bus stop, and they are heading to a skate park.
The Pit.
The Pit, yeah, in Venice Beach, California. And the story kind of follows him and these friends until he realizes that his family is in a little bit of financial trouble, and this prompts him to consider going on a sponsored team, which the whole thing of him and his friends is like, we don't do sponsorships, we skate for fun. We're
they're soul skaters. Yeah, soul skaters. And I was like, isn't there like a skateboarder group that is called something like that? I don't know. I didn't look it up. I'm great with research in this show, guys. Yeah, that was, I have so much to say about all these things.
You know, so yeah, he eventually joins the sponsored team and then figures out that it's not all he was looking for. He got kind of learned a lesson about turning his back on his friends and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, but like he didn't. Okay, go ahead. He didn't even really do that. Like
no, he didn't. He didn't, but he did. He tried to tell them.
Yeah, well, the learning the lesson thing, he didn't.
Well, like he had to make it a lesson. I feel like
no, he learned a really good lesson. I'm gonna say that. Like the lesson that he learned, I was like, right on. You go soul skate your soul out. Like you do your thing and be a good person. You're a total sweetheart when you're not trying to prank people. You're terrifying when you're pranking people, but you're a total sweetheart. Like, good Lord. But the lesson that he learns at the end doesn't have a whole lot to do with the stuff that happens at the beginning of the movie.
It's true.
And I was just like, what is going on? So I'm sorry, continue.
No, that's okay. I think maybe we should like talk about the first part. Like
okay, that's good.
So I mean, one of the things that stood out for me was like the family dynamic of this family that is kind of trying to hold it together, and it has like some real situations they're dealing with, and like more real than like the previous one we watched.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like you know, I forgot. Did you see High School Musical?
No.
Okay. Well, this analogy will be for people who've seen High School Musical. I feel like, and I might be wrong, but I feel like the further along you get on the DCOMs, I like how we've just decided to call them that, even though at first we were like, DCOMs, they're Disney Channel movies. What are you talking about? And now we're just like, whatever, DCOMs is faster. That the parents, and I think that something similar was happening on the shows for a while, but they sort of added the parents back into the fold, that the parents become less and less important, and they're just kind of there to impart a message and less like having actual lives of their own that you get to see glimpses of. So like in the previous one, Under Wraps, yes, that's the name. Hey, I remember something. You see how the mom is kind of just trying to deal with stuff, and it does come off very real. Like, you know, she's wants to date other people, and he's having the kid's having a hard time with that, and like she met somebody she really likes, and she hopes that the kid can like, you know, like all that stuff, and it does, you know, there was a bit of a metaphor in there, and it does work, and it's a lot about his relationship with his mom to a certain extent, because he does clearly get upset, but is also trying to deal with his feelings, which is way more than you get in like later stuff when it's like,
very true.
I want to be a star, but also I'm being oppressed by my peers, you know, like that's a little different. And then this one, like that family, like again, that family dynamic is amazing because you hear the adults talking to each other and the dad not understanding the son, which I could go on for hours about that. And the mom just being like, man, okay, that's you'll figure it out. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that's a really good point actually. And that in later years, like the focus becomes more on the kids part of it and less on the parents. Any parents don't really have much of a story in a lot of the later ones. And in this one, they had a little bit more reality there, which I thought was interesting. But I did find it funny that I think contrary to the way we think now, the dad was very much like, you can't make a living off your passion. Don't follow your passion because
that was amazing because it wasn't even okay. Can I just go into my rant about the dad now?
Go ahead.
I watched Samantha like earlier today when I was like, I'm gonna like, there's 3 things that I'm just like full on ready to be like, oh my God. So, okay, the thing about the dad that I have in my notes, like a lot of all caps about the dad. At the beginning, the dad is very much like, who is my son? It's not normal to be happy all the time. And I'm just like, your son is a ray of sunshine. Do not even. He is the sweetest, except with the pranks, which were terrifying. I was like, I'm going to be so scared of that kid in that school. I'd be like, cool, you're really nice. Please don't talk to me. I'm scared. Anyway, back to the dad. So what we find out when Brink overhears his parents is that they're worried about money because the dad was injured and he wasn't able to work, and like where he works, they're not sure if they'll be able to hire him back, which is a very real thing that happens to people. And so Brink, brings it upon himself to like he knows that he has an opportunity to join the sponsored team and then like maybe get money through that, which would be, very good. And he also could skate. And like, he's really good. Like he's that's the story, is that he's like the best skater. And so that all makes sense, especially to a teenager. When I watch these, I have like the adult brain of me and the like trying to remember like how I experienced it like the first time where I was just like, well, this is amazing.
Totally.
I wish I was cool like them. So, but as like an adult, more or less, I was so upset with the dad because, first his son is really happy all the time and he's upset, and then he gets suspended from school on the very first day of school because they were the Val, the antagonist, was kind of goaded him into having a race because first Val like takes his friend Peter's sneakers and then like throws them up into like the like power line, which was amazing. I was like, how did they do that? That was perfect. That shot was perfect. And so then to retaliate, Brink puts worms in Val's sandwich, and I just
that was
like
great.
I didn't watch that, but I couldn't watch that part. I was like, this is disgusting, and I hate this. That's why I was like, the beginning of the movie, I was like, I don't want to be here for this. So then Val says, okay, well, we're going to race right now. Like, and Brink's friends are like, we're going to get in trouble. And he's like, hey, like, we're going to have to fight them eventually. Might as well do it now, man. And I'm just like, that's okay. And then they like set up a whole obstacle course in the school. And I'm just like, there's no way they would have gotten that far without anybody.
Right.
There's just no way that there were just like no teachers in that hallway ever for like as long as it took them. So they're doing a relay race and the kid on the opposing team gets hurt. So then Brink, of course, because he's a good person, stops to go help him. And then he's like, oh, go call the nurse. Like, we can't, we got to like help this dude. And then he gets suspended, and the dad is just so upset because he got suspended the first day of school. And every time that skating gets brought up, the dad gets angry. Like, no matter what the topic is, every time the dad gets angry. And so I'm like, so then at the point later on in the movie when the dad does have a heart-to-heart with his son, I'm just like, why did you do that first?
Well, I mean, come on. That's what a plot line is.
I know, but I was still mad. I was mad because at first it was kind of cute, like, oh God, I don't understand your slang. Because Brink talks in totally like skater 90s words, which is like the best, and I loved it. And the dad like didn't understand, and I was like, how do you not? He's saying hi, and like, I don't know. I guess it's one of those things where I still haven't reached that point where I don't totally understand. I understand enough, or I just look it up. And so the dad. So then, you know, when he does find a job and he tells his parents about the skating opportunity, the dad says, "Oh, like we can trust him to go do, like we're gonna let him go do what he wants, the skating that he like. That's the thing that he wants, but is also the thing that's constantly getting him in trouble. We're going to let him do that to get money. Like, no, if you want a job, you're going to get a job in like a place that is like a kind of normal place to get a job instead of like a sponsored skating thing," which I don't disagree with him on that. Like you know, I think it's great that they told him that it wasn't his responsibility. Like that was good. And I think, sorry, I'm just like super hyped into this thing. I'm just like, and I think it's great that, you know, I thought that was a good point that like, you know, if you want to help us, maybe get a job not doing the thing that gets you in trouble all the time. And from a parental perspective, I totally get that. But I can see why this poor boy who just wants to make people happy like so much, like decided to just go ahead and do the job that his dad got him at the like dog groomers, that Pup and Suds or whatever it was called, and do the sponsored skating. And try to like keep his friends happy by not letting them find out about it, and try to pull out of the sponsor skating in time to like do the big finale with them. And so I just think because the dad was so like blinded by like the skating being a problem, and he wasn't able to talk about it. And again, they made for a very good story, and it clearly gave me feelings. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't have written it like that. I just wanted to talk about my feelings. Okay, your turn.
Well, I mean, I didn't really respond to it like that. I more was a little irritated at the idea that he shouldn't. They thought he shouldn't pursue something he was clearly really interested in and invested in and good at.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you shouldn't make money at that because. And I was like, because why? Like that?
Yeah, it was because I don't like you skating because I don't understand it. That's why I was mad. I was like, well, then take the time to understand the thing that your son is super into. Like, you have 2 kids. You can do that. You have time.
You have time. Exactly.
Job search, take a break, ask your son some questions about skating, tell him, hey, I don't understand the word you're using. Can you try to explain it in a different way?
I mean, it's funny. I initially had the same sort of reactions to the dad, and then I really grew to like him throughout the thing more so. Like,
it's almost as if like a different writer came in at the end to write like the dad scenes, because it was such a flip. I think also what happened is the dad, Brink was so sad, and the dad was just kind of like, I guess I'll talk to you about feelings. And he had some very good insights, like you were saying, the whole thing about, you know, so like at the beginning, like I felt like the message was going to be like, I mean, it is the lesson learned, which it kind of was sort of like, know your limits, know what people expect of you, and, you know, figure out how, I'm phrasing this terribly, but basically like assess the situation a little bit better. You know, take a breath, think it through, discuss it with people, and if you feel like you have to keep something a secret, it might not be the best plan.
Yeah. Well, and you know, don't trust people that you don't think you should trust. Like, and he puts his trust a little blindly in Val, you know, and Val ends up hurting his friend, and it takes him to that moment to be like, maybe I shouldn't have trusted you in the first place.
Yeah. Well, but basically, like, you are so bad that I can't even trust you with this thing that like. So what happens is that Val, because one of his teammates got hurt on the sponsored team, they're trying out people to join the team so they can be in the competition, and he knows that he can goad Brink into being part of the team, and oh my gosh, like the mental manipulation that this kid does.
I know. He's such a jerk.
Oh my god, he makes my skin crawl. I just can't.
He's like one of the only, I think he's probably one of the worst villain characters of the DCOM like entire franchise, because like
I think he's up there with like first High School Musical Ashley Tisdale character, who's, I don't know how I forgot her name, but it's Sharpay. Like he's a little bit above her because she is awful, but like in a way that makes her my favorite. But yeah, but like this kid not only is mean and manipulative, he is racist and sexist, like explicitly.
He has no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and I think none.
It's amazing.
I don't know. He's so two-dimensional, though. It just drives me nuts.
Well, like he clearly is just this like character who just wants, like, I don't know what his parents are like. Like, do not want to meet them, but probably just like very driven at success no matter what, but also clearly like super racist.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's like literally exists as a character to be the antagonist. He does not exist as somebody to be three-dimensional.
Well, yeah, but he's also like the sorry, the opposite of Brink, because Brink is so accepting and sunshine, and he just is there to be helpful. So I think they basically created like a mirror image of Brink and made him like the opposite. Because so there's a female character whom I obviously love, and I'm sure you do too, because she's amazing, and she talks a little about being Peruvian, which I was a little surprised. At first I thought this was just like, oh, hey, cool, diversity, yay. You know, like, you know, I was like, this is great. I don't know why they keep hitting home that she's Peruvian, but I'm also not upset about it. It's just sort of a surprise. But then Val tells her to go back to Mexico. And I was just like, what is happening? This is amazing. Because she's just like, she says it, she's like, I'm Peruvian, and then she says something to him in Spanish that might have been a cuss word now that I ever think about it. But I was just like, this is so good, because like and then they see some other stuff like earlier in the movie about like people mistaking her for a boy and all this stuff. And that was the other thing about her that was really good, was her, switch gears real fast from Val, was that she makes it a point to be like, when he says, okay, guys, she's like, I'm not a guy. I'm not one of the guys. And I love that, because there's always this thing with girls who always feel like if they're one of the guys, they've like won something, you know? Like, I'm not like the other girls. I'm like, I'm just one of the guys. And that's not a thing. Like, that's not something that you should, I mean, if you want to be one of the guys, that's fine. But also it's not like, it doesn't make you better. Like that's, you know, that sexism internal, like, workings where it's like, well, if I'm not like the other girls, I'm cool because being a girl is bad, right? So it was nice to see her be like a total tomboy, but like, no, but I'm me. Yeah. Yeah, and she didn't. She wasn't trying to keep up with the boys. She was just hanging out with people who liked the same things that she did.
Exactly. I think she is actually probably one of the top female characters in DCOM, like in terms of how she represents herself. Like you just said, like she's always been one of my absolute favorites. Like, yeah.
Yeah, she was
fantastic.
Yeah, and then you know, you see her mom at some point, and it really. It made her like ethnicity really real, not because the mom did anything specific, but because the mom was just like a regular person,
right? Exactly.
Who you would like if you met your friend's mom, who was like a Peruvian skateboarder who like their mom made them dress in a dress for like the first day of school. The mom looked exactly like that person, like you know, it reminded me of like, you know, people that I've met who were like friends, like moms of my friends. So that was kind of cool that like. Again, with these first movies, the parents are like actual people and not just like cardboard cutouts that say like encouraging things.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah, yeah, she was amazing. Yeah, but yeah, Val was just so bad, but like, oh, he was so manipulative and mean. And just Brink, why do you trust him for so long?
Right, exactly. I don't know. Val has always been like so repulsive. To me.
Oh, he was, yeah. But that's why when I texted you and I was like, there has to be fan fiction of Brink and Val, and you were like, really? And I was like, their faces are so close to each other all the time. And then when I did look up the fan fiction, there was a comment that was like, I'm surprised that there isn't any. And I was like,
maybe for me it's because I just can't imagine someone wanting to be.
Yeah. No,
so bad that it's like, ew.
Okay, no, but like the thing is that I've looked at so much fan fiction that I know that there is an audience for that kind of thing, where either it's like just that kind of weird toxic relationship, or it's like the redemption of the bad guy. Because
I can totally understand that, but
yeah, but no, as a kid I never would have thought that, and like a few years ago I probably wouldn't have thought that, but like once you get to the point where you just see these things after a while, you're like, all right, who's shipped with who? Who's getting paired off by the fans? Every time, like sometimes I'll be watching a show and texting my friends about it, and I'll be like, another ship has sailed. There it goes. Good luck. Godspeed. Oh man, I have it here in my notes where Val tells Brink that he said that he's going to be showing him some respect, and I was like, oh wow, that's gross. Like, where did you learn that from, kid? You are a teenager. And that, like, the way he says it is so, like, creepy and terrifying. And just, no. Anyway, we can move on from Val now. But, like, I just saw that quote when I was looking through my notes. And I just remember being like, if that kind of kid said that to me, I would have been like, I need to report this person to somebody because I'm so scared. And I know it sounds weird, but like watch the movie. If you get a chance to watch the movie just to see how good like this kid actor is and the script is at showing him. I mean, like as you said, he is very much a two-dimensional bad guy, but the layers of badness are so amazing. I mean, there's so much.
This is a guy that like, okay, so what happens is Brink comes to his senses basically, and after shit goes down, he like goes back to the Soul Skaters, and they end up competing in this great big tournament thing, and sponsored by the place his dad got him a job at, which is funny because that would like never happen.
I know. But like it was sponsored in that they gave him t-shirts and then he used like 4 months advance pay to buy them new gear, which
it was like
yeah, I was like, is this the lesson that the friends are supposed to learn? Because the friends were kind of jerks. But yes, go ahead. We'll talk about that next.
And they end up having to do this. They end up getting to the final round of this, you know.
X Games.
Again, the total Disney thing happens where like the kid who couldn't do the 540 through like the 3/4 of the movie, like finally does this like massive trick. It's like,
yeah, like he like flips like in the air basically, and I was like, no.
I was like, yes, DCOM for the win.
I know, it was so funny. I couldn't even figure out what trick it was that he was trying to do. And until he like we saw him do like that final trick, and then I told you earlier that there's this like 6-minute like quote unquote summary of Brink that I found on YouTube, which I will also link to, but it's super weird and surreal, so pray yourself. But they showed him trying to do the trick, and I was like, that's, I get it now.
I get it.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So this whole thing culminates in a head-to-head downhill race between Val and Brink, which, by the way, I've skated downhill, not that steep, but it's super scary. So that type of competition is no joke. No. Every time anybody was skating in this thing, I was just like, don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt yourself. I'm so scared. Don't hurt yourself. I know. I wonder how many stunt people they used.
There was definitely quite a few. And I'm pretty sure that like at least one of the stunt people they used for the girl, who's the first, I can't remember her name.
Gabriella.
Gabriella, thank you. I even wrote it down at some point, but like.
Yeah, they definitely used a dude for her a couple times.
But they did use a girl, I think, a couple times.
Yeah.
I was looking, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a girl.
Which is super awesome.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure there were some things that they just was available. But
yeah.
They did a pretty good job of, like, as a kid, I would not have noticed. I also wouldn't have thought to look for it. But, like, it wasn't, like, super obvious. And there were some times where I'm like, I'm pretty sure that actor just did a trick. I don't know if they did it that high up, but they definitely did a trick.
Exactly.
Looked pretty impressive for somebody who's terrified of all of that.
Yes, that's so cool.
Yeah, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Oh, no, that's okay. but what's funny, so I was just talking about the downhill race that they do, which obviously Brink wins because it's DCOM. But that the film ends like right after that, and I totally forgot that.
That was weird because the fan fiction I read halfway through the movie made it seem like something else was going to happen in the movie. I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to read it again to say exactly why, but just the way it was Brink was still like working off the money that like the pay, and he was really tired because he was still like working really hard, and I was like, oh, something's gonna happen where he's gonna owe somebody money, and I didn't realize that it was like the job that he had. I was so confused at who he got 4 months paid from. I thought it was from I thought that something was gonna. Okay, so when I keep changing the subject, sorry. So
I'm so tired.
I know, I'm so tired. We're just like talking about this thing that we love. So when Brink meets the head of the sponsored team, like the guy who's running the team and giving them money. Yeah, who's just like handing out $200. Just like, who does that? He's so
shady, by the way.
He's so shady. Like, wow. And like, Brink does a good job of selling himself, but I'm also like, honey, do you not have sense? How do you not have sense? Because you were a small child, that's why. And so he, so the guy, the adult man, says, oh, like, you know, Val explained to you how it all works, right? And I was like, oh, so clearly Val left something out, and if he quits, he's gonna like owe this guy money. Like, I assumed that that's what was gonna happen. So when the movie just ended, I was like, wait, but, and then I figured, like, so when he said that, like, oh, I got 4 months like pay ahead of time, I thought he meant like with the sponsored team, and I was like, has it been 4 months? There's no way it's been 4 months.
I mean, the movie didn't do that great with continuity, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I was so confused until I finally figured out. Oh, like halfway through the X game thing, I was like, oh, this is like from his actual job. That is sponsored skating. I get it.
I get it.
That makes more sense now. But yeah, but again, like that weird abrupt ending, I was just like.
I had totally forgotten that was like the end, and it all culminated in this. Because that's one scene I always remember: the tournament and the downhill race. Like,
yeah.
I always remember the line where the announcer, like, by the way, this is like a super professional event. Like, they have ESPN there for some reason. And some like announcer.
Well, that's because like that was the time when like the X Games, and obviously this isn't actual X Games. I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Some rollerblading events that they had. The X Games were like a huge, I mean, the huge thing like with like Tony Hawk and like all that stuff and like the rollerblading and the biking and the blah, blah, blah. Like, and I remember wanting to learn to skateboard and like trying to skateboard in college and being like, oh, you can hurt yourself in that. I'm good.
I skateboarded for like a hot second, but then I was like, no, I like rollerblading better because.
Yeah, no, I didn't even rollerblade. I was like, soccer. Soccer is the thing for me.
No, not for me. I liked rollerblading. But anyway, so in these events, like one of the lines that I have always remembered, and it still like comes into my brain every now and then for some reason, is like the announcer goes, when Gabriella's skating, she's like, one of the few girls out here, but she's rocking it or whatever. But I've always remembered that for some reason. And I was like, yeah, go, girl power.
I thought that was cool too because I think it did to a certain extent reflect who got into the X Games and those kind of competitions and the troubles that from what I've little bits and pieces that I've read, like that women had trying to get into those games. I think I appreciated that they pointed out that she was like a really amazing skater and that it was cool to have her there. But at the same time, it's sort of like, well, don't make it sound like it's hard for girls to do this.
Right. Yeah.
You know? But they said it in an upbeat way, so I wasn't like.
Exactly. Yeah.
I didn't have any dark reaction
because I was like, I could be one of those girls. I rollerblade, you know.
Yeah, totally.
It just really hit me. I don't know why.
Yeah, and the thing that she wasn't a love interest for anybody.
Yes.
That was amazing. Like
so true.
Do that again. Like this story was just about Brink being a very good person, then being taken advantage of. Let's talk about the friends, and then talk about the whole following your dreams thing. How's that?
Okay.
Does that sound good? Okay. What do you want to talk about? Because those are the two things that I want to talk about.
Okay, well, let's hear what you have to say about the Friends.
I was sorry. I was so mad at the Friends. I was so angry because so Brink tries to tell them a couple times that they make fun of the sponsored teams all the time because they're solo skaters and they do it for the fun. Yes, great. Do that. Do your thing. But also, like, I've been reading a lot or listening to a lot. If you listen to the podcast Bad with Money with Gabby Dunn, she wrote an article and also talks about being a YouTuber and, like, if you have a lot of subscribers, that people think that you make a lot of money. Like, if you're famous, it equals money. But that's not how it works. And that when they do, like, things that are, like, deals with companies where they're advertising something or whatever, that people, like, call them a sellout. They're like, I'm going to unsubscribe. Like, how could you do this? And I'm like, yeah, but, people need to eat and pay bills. Like, they need to do
so
that.
frustrating to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's why, like, with like a lot of YouTube videos, like YouTubers, I will try to let the ads run because unless they're just I've seen them 500 times and I can't anymore. Sorry. There's a few where I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I gotta skip this. But like, so that upset me because like that whole idea of like selling out. But we can talk about that next. But then the fact that the Friends didn't even listen to him when they found out that he had deceived them and gone to skate with a sponsored skate team, like they just ran away. And then when he came to talk to them, they just refused to talk to him. And I understand, being that age, this is a normal reaction. So I'm not saying that like it's abnormal or bad writing, but I was just so upset because I was like, maybe listen to him and help him realize that he's making bad decisions.
Yeah, but like again though, at the same time, it's a plot device. Like that's what happens.
But still, like
I know, but like I feel like.
But like the thing is, like
I just expect that. Like,
well, yeah, but most of the time, there's always like a friend who, I don't know. It just seemed weird for them to so strongly. No, this is what it was. So he's like their captain, right? They do everything he says, basically, which is a little disturbing.
That's Thursday.
But I remember that from being like that age, being like, yes, you're cool. You seem to make good decisions. Not true. And like, I will follow you into whatever it is we're going to do next. And so they do everything that he says, including pranks, right? Like, even when they argue with him, they usually follow what he says, like, do what he says. And they listen to him. And he helps them be better skaters. He gives them tips. He says, you got to do it like this. Try it like this. Maybe this will help. And he's always, like, relentlessly positive, right? And all of a sudden, he starts behaving differently. He starts hanging out with different people. And, like, it's kind of weird. And I just kind of feel like it's a little odd for these friends who were soul skaters and this guy who gave them the idea to soul skate, for them to just immediately be like, oh, you betrayed us. How could you betray us like that? And not be like, are you okay? Like, did something happen to you? Like, why are you all of a sudden acting completely differently? And again, I know it's a plot device, but I'm just saying, like, it was just a little jarring to have them immediately go, instead of being like, and the thing is that, sorry, I'm like on a rant. The thing is that when Gabriella gets hurt because Val, like, this is the point where Brink is like, no more, I can't do this anymore, you're hurting my friends. He goes to visit Gabriella and he says, I needed the money. And she's like, we all need the money. And I was like, cool, but could you have had the conversation? You know, like, because I was thinking, like, well, you know, it wouldn't be surprised if other parents were having problems, and it would make sense. And if they did have, you know, the money, that would be nice. But also, it's very stressful to be in that kind of team that's sponsored. I imagine having to do like photo shoots and always be at that guy's beck and call, which was super creepy for an adult man to tell a teenager that. But you know, and so when she said that, I really liked that she was saying, like, we could all use the money, but that's not why we skate. And I was like, this is good. This should be the message of the movie, and not whatever random messages we burned through until we got to the last one. So I really liked that, and I just wish that had been a little bit stronger earlier on in the movie, instead of it just being like, no, you betrayed us. Which, again, as somebody who has felt betrayed in the past and has been like, no, I'm not talking to you anymore, I do understand why they did it, but it just was a little like, I wish that a little bit of an undercurrent of that had been earlier in the movie. So anyway, that was my like angry rage thing about that. I'm done.
Yeah. I mean, I felt a little bit of that, but not like that.
Yeah, we pick up on different things.
I don't know. I feel like they had a pretty natural reaction, but also I'm used to DCOM stuff. So like,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
you
well,
are too, but like,
yeah, I know. I
I
just
didn't react to it like that because I was like, eh.
Yeah, I think also the problem is that I watch so many videos of people talking about TV shows and movies and comics and stories
Sure.
that like I'm trying very hard to do my own version. Not my own version, but like I have a bad habit of just glomming onto other people's opinions because I hear them. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this movie's bad for this reason. And then later on I'm like, actually I really like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the things that like I really liked. I think that's why I was annoyed because like they seem to have such a solid friendship, and for them to just assume that he would betray them like that and not ask questions,
yeah,
was a little weird to me. I mean, I think for other movies,
there were some moments where I was like, that's a little far. You know, you could.
Yeah, I think that's what bothered me. Like, you know, I saw somebody. I was looking things up today because I got so excited about this movie. By the end of it, I was just like looking things around the internet, and I saw somebody mentioning like that it was kind of weird that they accepted him when he brought them stuff, which was basically what they were against this whole movie. He was like, hey, I got a sponsorship by paying for all our stuff. And they were like, great, well, come back, be part of our team again. And I was sort of like, guys, isn't that the thing you were like really mad about like 20 minutes ago?
I know. Yeah, there was a little bit of that for sure. It was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, but
with that.
Yeah, but it did when they did have him back, it did feel very genuine because they were clearly so passionate about their friendship and the thing they love to do together. Mm-hmm. So that was my feelings about that. And then on to the other thing I wanted to talk about. I like honestly didn't think I would have anything to say. And now I'm like, let me tell you all of my feelings. The thing with the dad and the whole selling out and all that stuff. What did you think of that?
You mean in terms of
like the dad telling, like what you mentioned earlier about like, you can't always follow your dreams kind of thing. Sometimes you have to.
Well, like, I mean, I fundamentally disagree with that point of view, but I think, yeah, I mean, because like what you just said with like a YouTuber who has to do advertising deals in order to make their money, like the perception of that is selling out, but at the same time, they're just advancing a career.
Or they're just paying their bills and getting food and rent.
It's the same argument of like, the artist who's super cool and offbeat and like you get their stuff, on a street in Brooklyn, and then suddenly you bought it and it gets into this art collector's hands who's like, oh my God, this is amazing. You need more money to do more of this. But then the second they get to a certain level of it within that trajectory, it's like you're making money being an offbeat artist who shouldn't be, or like you're making money off a persona then, when before it was a real thing. You know what I mean? Like you become a persona as a brand rather than a reality.
Yeah. Like, there's a little bit of this also in like the Hercules movie, but it's very weird and doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like in this. So like with the dad, okay, so there's two aspects, right? That like, don't sell out because that's bad. But like you're in high school, so like you could also just go have fun. That's great. Mm-hmm. You do that. But also if you want to succeed at like the games and you need new gear, then yeah, you do need to have money. That's why people do sponsorships. Yeah. Anyway, that's the thing you will learn as time goes on. But also, like, obviously with sponsorships, if you have like a super sleazy guy giving you money and calling the shots, that's really bad. Mm-hmm. So that lesson was sort of there.
But yeah, it was really muddled.
Yes, it was very muddled. And then when the dad comes and does his like heart to heart with his son, which I actually really, really enjoyed, was like, where was this dad at the beginning of the movie? Obviously very stressed out because of the job, I understand. It was good storytelling, so I'm not saying that. I was just getting mad about it. When he does the heart-to-heart with his son, he tells him, what it was kind of a weird message, but basically it's about like how he said that the company you keep and what you do to keep that company, basically. Like it's how you treat people and the people you attract because of the kind of person you are. And he was saying like you are a good person, and that's that's who you are and that's who you should try to be true to. And I really liked that because to me, we've gone so over time. I'm not going to worry about it. To me, I have a hard time with, like, I do believe that if you have a passion and you want to make a career out of it, then you should definitely try to do that. Learn about it, learn what it takes, figure out if you can do it, try it. And if it doesn't work, then, you know, it doesn't work and you figure something else out. Like, you know, we're in the age of like multiple career choices and things like that. Not that I want to do that, but that's kind of like the thing. And I am not saying that you should not follow your dreams. However, not everybody can follow their dreams. That's just a fact. That's just how it is. And the thing is that, like, I love my job. I also love doing this. I don't plan to make a career out of this. I just like doing this because I get to hang out with my friends. And like, maybe it's great. It's fun. I love it. So there's that, you know, like if I tried to like quit my job to go do art or be a singer or a writer, like that would be amazing if I could do that. But I'm not going to, because I would suffer, you know, for various reasons that I do not want to get into. But like, you know, and I really like my job because I feel like I'm useful and productive and I get to, you know, Hank Green did a whole video about like the thing about with jobs though people want to feel is useful. They want to feel like they've like done something. That could mean almost anything, right? And I think that the message that Dad had was like, there are things that you love that you are not always going to be able to do. And you know, I think for me, an underlying message that I probably read into and wasn't actually there was that, you know, just because you love something does not necessarily mean you should make a career out of it, because that is a lot of work and you have to focus all of your energy on that thing and you might get burned out on that thing.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting and good lesson, actually.
Yeah. Woo. That's the universe telling us you have been doing this for too long. You've been talking about this Disney Channel movie for a very long time. But yeah, no, like, I thought so that was kind of the message he learned was like be a good person and then go from there.
Yeah, yeah. But the whole thing about like following your dreams, you're right. It's really hard, and the double-edged sword of that whole discussion is like you might end up disliking the thing that had made you so happy, which I think probably happens more often than you hear about because people get burnt out on something that they love because they tried to make a career out of it.
Yeah, or even just like people who go to art school and are just like, I'm so tired of drawing every day for every class. And you know, not to say that they shouldn't be artists, but that just like maybe the school aspect isn't for them. I follow a lot of artists on like Tumblr and Twitter, and I've seen conversations about like, how, you know, I can't make that decision for you, but this was my experience. And everybody has such a variety of experiences in following what they love. And I'm kind of like at the point where like, I just want to throw money, not that I have like money to throw, but you know, like buying artist stuff. I'm at the point where like, I like my job, feel good about my job. I like doing these videos because it's fun to talk about stuff that I love. Well, and I like buying comics and art and stuff. So I'm going to go with that. So now I have like a group of like artists that I go see at I go to their booths at WonderCon to like buy their stuff. And I'm like, I'm contributing to arts by paying for it.
Well, it's a good perspective to have.
I mean, like I don't have time. I'm not going to get good at drawing anytime soon. I draw for myself. I'm not going to do, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I like that the dad didn't discount what he was doing and didn't say you can't do this, but he was just like, you have to factor in all these other things and just kind of go and see how it goes. So yeah, that was great. Those are my thoughts on Brink the movie.
It's a good one. Go watch it.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up or any moments that you like loved and wanted to point out?
No, I'm just the girl. She's my favorite.
She's so good. She's a good actress too. Like yeah. I loved every part of her, just like righteous fury. I was like, yes, more characters like this. How did we get this from like the late 90s?
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing is she like, I feel like her and like some other early DCOM girls like gave me so much of who I was as a young feminist. Like, yeah. I always had so much of that fire in me, but their like characters were a huge part of that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that totally. Yeah, I love those characters. And, yeah. And it's interesting also like these early movies, you see a lot more guy protagonists, like you know.
That is so true.
And as time went on, like that's why Disney Channel has Disney XD, because they were like, only girls watch our channel now, and we need to get some dudes in here so we can. Some guys in here so that we can market to boys, basically, and to be super heteronormative. You know, girls watch Disney Channel, so we need Disney XD, so we can be extreme. But like even that has sort of like changed because first they had like super dude shows, and I'm using dude in a very specific way here. I usually use it much more like gender neutral. In that like it was the one about martial arts and like the superhero one that had a girl on it. and now they have like Star versus the Forces of Evil, which is basically about a girl who has superpowers and her friends. And so I'm just like, okay, okay, Disney XD, you do what you got to do. You do that. Cool. Anyway, yeah, the metamorphosis of the Disney Channel. I'm not sure what movie we have next. Do you remember? I don't remember.
I did not look it up.
It's going to take a very long time to look it up, I think. It might not. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, hold on. Yeah, we couldn't do You Lucky Dog. Oh, the next one is Halloween Town.
Just in time for Halloween.
I know. I looked at, like, I just remember I looked at that before and I was like, oh, perfect. So we did do an episode of Halloween Town for Bubblegum Social Club regular show. But we're going to watch it again now that we've done a few episodes of this series to talk about Halloween Town and kind of maybe dig in a little deeper. And I know that they're doing a reunion at the Halloween Town
where it was filmed.
Yeah, and then they're gonna, like, the cast is gonna do a reunion in honor of Debbie Reynolds, and that's really sweet. Aw. Yeah. So we're gonna watch it and like just have a Halloween time.
Halloween time. Yes, we are.
Yeah, so totally go watch Brink if you can. It's really fun. Close your eyes during the worms. And just watch that Val kid get what's coming to him, sort of. Kind of, I guess. And watch adorable Ray of Sunshine Brink just bring that sunshine all the way through the movie. That kid is like a surprisingly, he was a good kid actor. I think he's still doing stuff now, but yeah, he was fantastic in The Princess Diaries. Which sounds weird. Like we need to, we watched The Princess Diaries? Didn't we?
Yeah,
we should watch it again.
Yeah. We totally should. That one's like so quintessential for like us too. Like,
yeah, there's like two men who have reviewed it on their respective YouTube channels, and I'm not going to mention who they are because I feel like they might have rabid fans, and I really doubt they'll find this video, but just like, 50 minutes into it, I really doubt I was going to watch that far to the life. Anyway, they hate The Princess Diaries, and because of that, I kind of feel like we should make as many videos as possible about The Princess Diaries. Nice. Just to counter the, the conversation a little bit. Because there's two dudes, and we were two girls who were in high school during that time. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about something that is unrelated to this video, so I'm going to go now. Thank you, Samantha. That was so much fun. Thank you for bringing me
it was fun.
back in my life. Okay, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you for listening. Bye.